I'm Nicole, here with Father Tim, our pastor, and Father Michael, our parochial vicar. Together, we're diving into your questions about Catholicism, life, and everything in between.
Whether you're a lifelong Catholic or just curious, this is a place for honest questions, relatable stories, and hopefully a laugh or two along the way.
So grab your coffee or keep both hands on the wheel, settle in, and let's tackle today's questions. Welcome to The Truth Unplugged.
I'm going to kill both of you.
This is great.
Stop.
This is great stuff. This needs to be the intro.
It should be the intro, but she won't let it be.
Yeah.
Welcome
Maybe
to the
if
podcast.
you go on our Patreon page, you can get some.
Welcome to The Truth Unplugged.
Hey, everybody.
Guess
Hi.
what? I can't cut that out because you guys talk through
I
the whole
know,
thing.
that's the whole
Yep.
I
point.
bet you're so excited.
Folks, we do the best for you, and Nicole tries to do the worst for you.
Yeah, she cuts everything out.
We
Not
make
true.
it so that she can't do the worst for you.
I make people want to listen to this
We
podcast.
do
That's true.
That is
Everybody-
my
for you.
job.
Everybody does say that they love how you do this, Nicole.
That's so nice.
They do.
Yeah.
They love the...
You know, my favorite compliment is that I have a great voice for radio. My dream going through college was to be a radio producer. So
No.
here
See,
we are.
Really?
I've
Living
always
your
been
dream.
told that I have a great face for radio. It's okay. You can laugh into the microphone. You don't have to cover your mouth.
I can't.
Have you
This is
never
the
heard-
worst feedback
have you
I've
never heard
gotten.
that, Jeff?
My
that's a
laughing
laugh.
is
No,
annoying.
it's a giggle. They don't like the giggle. It's the full laugh. Full-throated laugh is good.
It's Holy Week. You made it. Congrats. How you feeling?
It's not Holy Week.
This airs.
Oh, it is Holy Week. It's
You are so
it's Holy Week.
Dumb. Happy Holy Thursday.
Yeah,
actually.
happy Holy Thursday,
Here we
everybody.
are, Holy Week.
Yeah.
Celebration of the priesthood.
Yeah, we're
and
getting-
the institution of the Eucharist.
Getting ready for the Mass of the Last Supper tonight.
Are you?
right. Oh, I'm stretching.
Yep.
I'm really ready for
up.
I'm ready for Lent to be over. I'm ready for Easter, the resurrection. I want to feel resurrected. Can it just be over now?
Absolutely.
Can I stop my Lenten penances today?
Well,
since
I
it's the
guess
Triduum.
Lent technically
Yeah.
ends, doesn't it?
it?
Yesterday.
I've had this debate with so many priests,
it's all-
and they
you know-
all
For the priests, Lent ended on Tuesday because we had our Chrism Mass where we rededicated ourselves and
So
renewed
what's
our
by
promises.
Wednesday? A day you just
Well, you're supposed to do the Chrism Mass on Thursday,
Yeah.
but because we have a large diocese and a lot of priests and everybody's busy, we do it on Tuesday, and then we have a whole thing. It's a whole thing. We do a whole thing. We've got a whole day of reflection. We got lunch together. We gotta do the Mass, and then we got to do a Jubilarian dinner afterwards, and then we've got to have a
tailgate party.
tailgate party at the parking deck of Christ the King.
this is all what happens on Tuesday.
This is what happens on Tuesday.
It sounds like a fun
Father,
day.
Father Evan
is a fun
Glazinski was the one that invented the tailgate party, I think.
It
It's
is. I'm going to see
Wasn't
Father
he
Evan
ordained
this
like
evening.
2 years ago?
yeah, he invented as a seminarian.
He did.
Okay, so 6 years ago.
Basically, what happened was there was a group of us that would kind of mill about afterward, and we'd end up like having a cigar or something. And then he's like, the next year he's like, tailgate party, everybody, bring cigars and booze. We're gonna sit out on the tailgate in the parking deck and
That's exactly
have a
what he
party.
sounds like.
That's exactly.
Yep.
Yep. Sounds just like that.
So that's what happens for you guys on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, well, so you
Besides-
gotta remember. I mean, the Chrism Mass, being that it's supposed to be on Thursday, is very closely connected to the priesthood. So it's a celebration of it's like a wedding anniversary for us in a way. You know, it's a celebration of our vocation and the institution of the priesthood. The most important things about our life. So yeah, we party, we celebrate.
Yep.
That's nice. What do you say is your favorite Triduum day? Triduum?
Triduum. What's my favorite Triduum day?
Yeah.
Really, it's
Is it just
I mean, it's
Thursday
like
or
one.
Friday? Is that
It's
what
like
we're
one
talking about?
day
Yeah,
is what it is.
Oh,
Isn't it? Thursday,
Friday's supposed to be kind
Friday.
of like an extension of Thursday, and then Saturday is Jesus dead in the tomb. Everybody's sad, and then Easter Vigil.
Yeah, Friday doesn't have an introduction or a conclusion. It's just
Really?
right. There's no sign of the cross made at the beginning or the end.
Yeah, you just
I-
kind of
There's
the
also
idea
no
is
sign
you
of the
just kind
cross.
of randomly
Right.
show up. Thing
Yeah.
happens, you kind of randomly go away.
Yeah, so the Triduum's supposed to be like
Oh.
one unit in 3 parts.
So we should really just stay up, never go to sleep.
And stay at the
For the
church the whole
whole
time,
Triduum.
all 3 days.
Yeah, you do that.
but I mean, if you think about it, though, you begin Holy Mass on Thursday, the Mass of the Lord's Supper, institution of the priesthood and the Eucharist, and then you don't end that. That
Yeah,
mass
there's no
doesn't have an
ending.
ending. You just process
just
with the Blessed
leave.
Sacrament
Yeah,
to
I
the
guess.
chapel of repose, and then you leave, and then you just kind of show up on Friday, and there's a service, a liturgy of the Word with the veneration of the cross that happens, and then you just kind of leave.
Depart in silence.
Yeah. So Friday is sort of like an extension, a protraction of Thursday, where the emphasis changes from the sacrifice of the Eucharist to the sacrifice on the cross, which is synonymous essentially, and then it rolls over to the harrowing of hell on Saturday, and then the resurrection on Saturday night, the vigil.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know any of this. We just,
But my favorite part of the celebration is Thursday, Easter, Holy Thursday.
Okay.
To answer your
And you
question.
said yours was
I think I like Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, I like the
the
Easter
deadness
vigil.
of Saturday.
No, the Easter vigil.
You
Yeah.
like Easter.
Well, Saturday's not dead. He's harrowing hell. He's kicking the devil's butt.
Growing up, my parents did on Holy Thursday like a Passover type meal situation.
A
Like
Seder.
yeah, that's what it's called.
You
A
know you're not
Seder.
supposed to do that. 'Cause
I
we're
know
not
they made it
Jews.
Catholic though. It
Jesus
wasn't-
did
We
that.
didn't do any of the Jewish
that's
prayers.
called the Mass.
Yeah, I know. But we would do that, and then we would go to Holy Thursday Mass.
Pope Benedict XVI specifically said Catholics should not participate in Seders.
Well, it
because
wasn't
they're
like
not for us.
we didn't do any of the prayers.
It's okay, Nicole.
We just
you're
ate
not,
the food.
You're not wrong.
Okay, well,
You're-
it's celebrating the Jewish roots of Catholics, just like Scott Hahn said.
You're canceled.
Okay,
I cancel
fine.
you right now.
Okay. How do I get uncanceled?
This is really
You don't.
scandalized. This is really scandalizing.
okay. Well, that was my favorite.
To all
part.
of our listeners, let this be an example to you of what not to do.
You're gonna have to tell a lot of homeschoolers.
And if you do it, I cancel all of you too.
You're gonna cancel
Yep.
everybody that Seders.
Yeah,
He's got his
I'm-
cancellation stamp out.
I'm real big on cancel culture.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
I like to cancel people.
Well, we were gonna talk about God's omnipotence.
Omnipotence, which is the nicer way of saying omnipotent,
Yeah.
which is
Omni meaning all, potent meaning
the
powerful.
Greek way of saying all
I
powerful.
just ever look at a word and forget how to say it. Because you having
I do that in
dyslexia,
I do that in
do
Spanish.
that a lot. Anything else you want to say about Holy Week? Anything you want people to
I
do?
would just encourage people to come to Holy Week
Yeah,
if you can.
Come to
Holy,
Mass tonight. Come to the thing tomorrow at 3 p.m.
What's the thing?
Holy Thursdays
okay.
tonight at 7.
So you guys have said this to me before. At least you said it to me last year, but I don't think you've ever said it to the whole parish. So why do we have a 3 o'clock and a 7 o'clock thing on Friday?
3 o'clock is because in the missal it says it should take place at 3 o'clock. A lot of parishes, for whatever reason, do it at 7 o'clock, saying, "Oh, well, people work on Good Friday," but I don't think people really work on Good Friday.
Or you shouldn't work on
Yeah.
Good Friday. And the people who want to come to the Good Friday service don't work on Good Friday.
Yeah, so we do it at 3, and then for people that have to work, that want to come and have an opportunity to do veneration of the cross, I offer Stations of the Cross with an opportunity to venerate the cross afterwards. It's not really a thing. It's just something that I do.
But the reason for it, though, is that the Lord's Supper happened in the evening on Thursday, and 7 o'clock is in the evening, and Jesus was crucified from noon to 3 o'clock on Good Friday, and so we do the veneration of the cross of the crucifixion of Jesus at 3 o'clock, the Divine Mercy Hour too, on Good Friday.
But you guys I'm pretty sure last year you said don't go to 7 if you don't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, you don't need to go to 7 if you went to 3.
Don't go to both.
Hold on, let's be clear. The 5 o'clock, the 7 o'clock on Friday, the 7 o'clock on Thursday is the Mass of the Lord's Supper.
Yes.
That you should go to.
Go to that.
Yes.
Go to the Easter Vigil.
The 7 o'clock on Friday is not really a thing. It's just it's a standalone Stations and Veneration that Father Tim does for the sake of people who can't come but want to publicly venerate the cross. But the actual veneration happens at 3 o'clock. That's when the whole liturgy takes place. Take your kids out of school. Take a day
Yeah.
off of work. Come
Do
to
they
Holy
not?
Thursday.
Do they not give you the day off on Good Friday anymore?
I don't know.
No, not.
Not
So George,
everybody.
What a horrible
I
pagan
think-
society we live in.
some state government jobs do, but they like call it the Easter I don't know. They had like transfer a holiday. It's President's Day, but it takes place on Good Friday. They do some crazy stuff, but
Does your husband take the day off?
he does.
Good for him.
Yeah, we both do. I, as a Catholic
What do you
wedding
mean you
photog-
take the
well,
day
I
off?
I take the whole week off.
There's no weddings on Good Friday.
No, but people meet with me or want to like chat about whether or not I should take their wedding photos.
I was on the quest yesterday doing some recording,
Really?
and Josh and I were talking about ways of sabotaging your wedding business so that you could work more full time at these sorts of things.
No.
We have a whole plan, and we're going to broadcast it loud and proud across
On the
both this
Quest?
podcast and the Quest. We're going to talk about how if you want Nicole to take your wedding photos, just be ready for the camera to add 20 pounds.
So you're gonna
No.
broadcast
You're gonna
on here and on the Quest. So we're gonna have you're gonna raise up an army of pious
Little
elder
people, yeah.
older women.
No. Hopefully this will make all.
Hopefully that's not everybody who listens to our podcast.
No, I was
offense
referring to the
older-
Quest.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you'll get
All
cool
right.
people from our
You guys are
audience.
ridiculous. Well, Father Tim, will you read the question?
How do we reconcile God's omnipotence, also known as omnipotence, with the existence of human free will, especially in light of the problem of evil and suffering in the world? Wow, what a good question.
So intense.
Look, should we break down the
Yeah, and
question
kind
a
of
little
define the
So,
things.
so the question is basically asking this: if we say that God is all powerful, which is what omnipotent means, omnipresent or omnipotence, if we say God is all powerful, how do we reconcile that with also saying that humanity has free will? Okay, that's the first part of the question, and then the second part kind of rolls into the question of evil. Okay, well, if God is omnipotent and He's all good, then the age-old question is asked: how does
Why is
God-
there evil?
Yeah, why is there evil? How does God tolerate evil? Why doesn't He just snap His fingers and make it go away?
This is actually a great question for going into the Lord's passion.
It's a really serious
So-
question.
I would let you take this.
Okay, so God's all powerful, right? God knows everything, and He gives us free will. At the beginning in creation, He creates the angels, and the angels are also given free will, but in a different sense than we are. The angelic choice is a one and done. So the angels either say yes or no. Lucifer says, "Non serviam, I will not serve." Third of the angels fall. The end for them. They're donezo. Then He puts Adam and Eve on earth in the garden and gives them free will to be able to choose to follow Him and to. And of course, we know the devil tempts Eve. Eve leads her husband into sin. They fall, and then God kicks them out of the garden. Then begins this long process of God revealing Himself to humanity that is fallen so that He can reconcile us to Him. And continually we see throughout salvation history the various people either doing God's will or not doing God's will, but He gives them more chances. And so ultimately then for us, we say, okay, we have the free will to follow God, but a lot of times we don't do it, right? St. Paul says the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. Why do I do the good? Why do I do the bad things that I know I shouldn't, and I don't do the good things that I know I should? Because we're fallen, but we've been redeemed by Christ's sacrifice that we'll recall tomorrow and tonight, and through that redemption, we're given the opportunity to say yes to God or to say no to God. But then, if we've said no, if we've fallen into mortal sin, we can be reconciled to the Father through sacramental confession and be given another chance. So in our free will, I guess we have to back up a little bit. Why does God give us free will then? Because if He didn't give us free will, if He just made us to only know how to love Him and not to be disobedient, then we wouldn't be free. It wouldn't really be love because we wouldn't be choosing it.
So I think we simply need to make the distinction that omnipotence is a potency to act, and will is the potency to choose. So the fact that God is all powerful does not interfere with will. God has the power to do anything, but one cannot compel a conscience. So God's decision and then God's act upon that decision are two different things. Man's decision and God's act upon man are also two different things. So man can choose what he wants, and then he has a limited potency to do what he wants, right? We oftentimes fail to accomplish what we want to do. God's omnipotence is simply talking about potency. So the fact that He can simply think and then say light, and light comes into existence, is God's omnipotence. But that cannot actually compel will. It can say, I am going to do this, but it does not say I am going. It cannot say I am going to make you do this. I'm not going to make you will this. So will and act are two different things. In that action is the manifestation of the will, but will precedes the act. And the omnipotence of God is not talking about his will. It's talking about the actions that he takes from his will. Human will is free from God's omnipotence because of that distinction. Right? So humanity can choose one thing or another, can choose to desire one thing or another, and then try to manifest that in an act of potency distinct from God's will, which is why Father Tim was talking about the fall and the ability for man to choose not to love God in order that he might actually choose to love God. You have to have that there. But the point is that omnipotence, any amount of power, it cannot compel will.
Okay.
What's your contribution? Was that your contribution?
I don't have like this. This is a question that is a little like above me. I think brain wise, I don't think this high up.
It's a big question that people have been talking about for thousands of years.
Well, yeah, and I think I've just like decided that I accept that fact, and I don't need to like think too much about it.
St. Augustine talks about it, where he says, just because he talks about it in terms of God's omnipresence, God's all-knowing. The question is, well, if God is all-knowing, how can there be free will? Similar question to this: if God's all-powerful, how can there be free will? Yeah. His response to that question, which is a different question, but it's similar, is this: that just because God knows something's going to happen doesn't mean he made it happen. Right? So Augustine uses the example of a spectator at a circus, and by circus he's talking about a race around a ring circle, not a
like Ben-Hur.
Barnum and Bailey. Yeah, like Ben-Hur, not Barnum and Bailey. He can say, okay, I have seen the accident around the curve, but the rider does not see the accident around the curve. As he comes around that curve, I know, omnipotent, omniscient, I know he's going to hit that chariot. He doesn't. He comes around the curve, hits the chariot. I knew he was going to do that because I saw what was happening, but that didn't make it happen. It didn't make him wreck into that person, right?
Is it wrong to think that God just sees the multiverse? Like in the Avengers, you know how there's like infinite timelines or whatever?
No,
because we ultimately choose with our free will, right? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? So God sees the intersection of this choice and sees both outcomes, or no? Is that wrong?
Because he's outside of time, so he just sees.
He sees the present.
Yeah.
But if we have free will,
it only exists. Things only exist because they happen, right? So it is absolutely necessary that you are sitting in that chair in this moment. Why? Because you are. Simply because you are. Because you're sitting in that chair in this moment, it is, and God sees that and has known it from all eternity. Not because he saw down a line of time and saw that one day you're going to sit in the chair, but he sees it outside of time in this moment that you're sitting in the chair in his eternal present. So he sees as the eternal present, both you sitting in this chair now and you sitting in this chair last week.
And he sees you when you're 85 years old in a nursing home, sitting in a wheelchair, drooling on yourself.
That's right. He sees that too. And his seeing it didn't make it happen. But doesn't my free will, you're choosing to do it.
I can choose not to do it.
Right. If you chose not to do it, then he would see that you didn't do it.
So God sees at the end of my life right now that I have either chosen him or not.
Yeah.
But
because he's outside of time.
But not
because he's outside of time.
Time exists in his head.
Okay.
He saw that not in a. So you're thinking about this in terms of like a destiny, like you're it's written for you already. Like you're just traversing a line that's already been drawn.
That's kind of how you're making it sound.
No. You have an infinite circle upon which you can strike out.
Okay.
God knows where you have struck, from where you have struck, and where you will end. Not because he's made it or because he's written it or because he's compelled you to choose it, but because you have chosen it over the series of your choices, and he's simply seen every choice that you've made in the present moment that you choose it.
Okay, that makes way more sense. That's a good one. Good job.
So in the sense of God seeing all things, but not his knowing about them, making them happen, so also God's ability to do anything that he wills does not infringe upon our will, which is independent of his.
Okay.
So a powerful person can, let's take let's take a king, Nebuchadnezzar, right, trying to compel Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to worship the statue.
Yeah.
He's in this sense, Nebuchadnezzar is all powerful, right? He's the king of kings. He's Nebuchadnezzar, and he says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I will you to worship them, to worship. Now he has power to legislate that command. He can do that. That's within his power. But his power actually cannot make Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego do it because they can simply say no.
Okay.
So no matter how much he tries, no matter how powerful, Nebuchadnezzar could be actually all powerful and could not make Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego choose to worship the statue. Now he could force them on their knees. He could force them prostrate in front of the thing. He could shove, sacrificed meat down, he could force feed them with sacrificed meat, but he could never make them choose to worship the statue in the same way that a person could never be compelled to marry another person. You have to freely choose that no matter what power is coming to you. And this is the beauty and this is the risk for us of the Annunciation. God comes to Mary, all powerful, and says, I want you to conceive in your womb my son by the words of the angel.
Yeah.
And certainly God is omnipotent, but he risks Mary's no in order to rejoice in Mary's free yes.
Okay. I believe you.
But because she was conceived without sin, could she have said no?
Yes,
Nicole,
because Adam and
could
Eve
she
didn't
have-
have sin. You were asking Nicole, I think.
sorry.
Well, it's
think
not
you
a
were trying
sin
to
to say
recover.
no, right?
Yeah, it is.
What is
If
it
God
then?
says, I want you to do this, it's a sin to say no.
Oh, sure. Okay. That's true. So,
You will conceive and bear in your womb a son, and you shall name him Jesus. That would be sinful.
Yeah. But
That's true.
instead she says,
She could have said
Theo.
no
so,
and
so
sinned.
could she, does she even have free will in that choice?
Yes, 'cause she could have
he
said
made
no.
her without sin.
But so were Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were without sin, and they still sinned.
that's true.
Lucifer was without sin,
okay,
and he
okay.
still sinned.
You're
right?
right. You're right. Okay. Thanks. That's good.
No.
So-
These are good. These are all so. This is where people have stopped. I say all the time how people have like a third grade
Yeah.
understanding of
faith.
religion,
Yeah.
and they have a third grade maturity of faith. This is where people kind of stop asking questions, and then when they start coming up against hard things in life, like evil, like loss, like betrayal, they don't have the backbone of religion, like to the spine of religion, to actually help bear them up. And these are the questions that they need to ask and get answers to. So it's great that we're talking about it. It's great that you're asking the questions for clarification and everything, especially when
I just accepted it. I don't try to question it. So this is good for me. I don't know. So, okay. God's will, right? Always happens, correct? Always.
Yeah. So there's two wills in God, right? There's a
Oh, are there? I didn't know this.
duh, Nicole.
Sorry, my bad. I don't have a philosophy degree.
there's an active or an intentional and a passive or permissive will in God. Okay, so because he has creatures that exist, angels and human beings that exist with their own autonomy, there has to be a sense where he has to be permissive of what they choose to do. Okay, and this is how evil comes into the world and is
Great.
tolerated. Right?
Let's talk about this.
He also has his active will, which is always done. Where when he chooses this thing I want, like he takes a vested interest, so to speak, or he's like, no, like physics has to work this way, right? You don't overpower God's will when he has his active will, right? And this is like where miracles happen and things like this, where he's like, no, something is going to happen contrary to the laws of physics, and physics is like, wait, but God, you said I did this, and he's like, I know you didn't do anything wrong, physics, but I'm going to do something a little bit outside of you right now to make this other thing happen. Right, so active and let's call it intentional and permissive.
Okay.
An intentional will and a permissive will.
Yeah.
So because he has creatures who he gives freedom in order to choose to serve and love him, he has to have this other aspect of his will, which is permissive of their behavior.
Okay. So
God tolerates evil so
Evil
that
falls
his
in the-
creatures can be free.
okay, and somehow it always is in accordance with his will, whether it's passive or active.
Well, this is where his omnipotence comes in,
Okay.
is that because he cannot compel a will, a will outside of his own, but he can make the potency, the actions of those lesser wills. He can make their actions work to his own will. So this is where Paul says where grace abounds, or where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. God turns all things to the good for those who trust in him, right? No matter what we break in this life, he can fix.
Okay.
Not because he can compel our will, but because he can manipulate our actions to work towards his own will.
Right. So death is bad, right?
Yeah.
Death is
it?
well,
Initially, it was
but
bad.
before
Before the resurrection.
right.
Jumping ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So death is bad. You die. That's it. The end. And then Jesus redeems death. So Jesus makes something good from something bad. Jesus takes the worst thing in the world because it means you're over. Now death
Okay.
has new meaning.
Yeah.
Life hasn't ended. It's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're part of the body of Christ, you continue to be part of the body of Christ. And then he resurrects, he ascends to heaven, he's seated at the right hand of the Father.
Okay.
So
Right.
death is a good thing now.
Right.
It's still sad.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It's sad from this side of
Yeah.
death. It's not sad from the other side of death. Now, interestingly, humanity is in a better condition, as proof of what I was saying earlier, that God brings good out of evil. He made humanity good, and then humanity put evil into the world, and so God made more good come out of the evil that humanity made. And so at the Easter Vigil, for example, we say, "Oh happy fall."
Oh, happy fall, a necessary sin of Adam.
Thank you. That won for us so great a Savior.
Right.
Humanity is better off now because we sinned than we were before we sinned.
Because God willed that.
No, because
No,
God took lemons and made lemonade.
Yeah. Okay.
He took the death that came into the world because of our sinfulness, and he said, "How can I, God, fix this thing, death, that humanity, free agents, brought into the world? I guess the only way I can do it is to make them God." And so we went from being in a state of natural beatitude as human beings, solely in our own nature and human nature, to now being united to as co-heirs and sharers of the divine nature, united to God himself. We are like God invites humanity. You're either a regular human being and you go to hell, or you're a superhuman being united to God in his divine nature and you go to heaven. And that's way better than being just in the Garden of Eden. And that all happened because we did evil, because we brought evil into the world. So God tolerates evil, but not because he won't fix every bad thing that ever happened, or not that he can't fix every bad thing that ever happened. The only thing he can't do is compel love. Love has to be a free choice. So that's why many people will be in hell, because he can't compel that which is required to be happy in heaven,
Right.
to love him.
And because it's a free choice, there has to be the opposite choice.
But all the evil that good and bad people both do into the world, all of that can be fixed. I want anybody listening to this to imagine whatever it is that you suffer with now, whatever it is that you're burdened with now, if you persevere to the end in love of God, not only will all of that, the memory of that burden and the effects of that burden, not only be lifted and healed as if it never happened, you will be better off for it. So the more you suffer now in this life faithfully in God, the better off you're actually going to be when he restores that which has been unjustly taken from you or done to you. It's an amazing thing. It's something to hope for. It's a reason to hope, right?
Right. That's why people will tell you to offer it up, right? Unite your
Right.
suffering to the suffering of Christ, because it is redemptive.
So real quick recap here. The question is how do we say that God is both omnipotent and yet we have free will, and then the problem of evil. So God's omnipotence means his power to act. That does not compel will. Humans have free will, so his power does not compel our will, but his power can affect our actions, the actions that come from our will, the actions we put out into the universe, in such a way that his will is always accomplished, our will is respected, and the evil, the failures, or the inadequacies of our acts are fixed and elevated by God's own act from his will. And so the evil that we choose to do as free agents, as human beings, has to be respected by God's permissive will in order to maintain our freedom. But that evil that we put into the world will be rectified by God's omnipotence. No, that was a perfect use. You cut it off too soon. Just to summarize our long conversation there.
Yeah, that was a good conversation, I think.
Do you think?
Okay. Rapid fire.
You're getting good at these transition buttons.
Thanks. Okay, first question.
Just in time for the season ender.
Are tattoos accepted by the Catholic faith? Why or why not?
Rapid fire. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's the...
Yeah. I mean, so in the early church, no, tattoos were forbidden because they were a pagan mark, and so you couldn't mark yourself as a pagan. Well, there's tradition of this tattoo shop in Jerusalem that tattoos the Jerusalem cross on pilgrims, and it's been there for like hundreds of years.
Since the Crusaders, it's like the oldest tattoo shop in the world.
Yeah, and that's the only tattoo I think that they do. It's just that Jerusalem cross.
Isn't general guidance that it needs to dignify you in some way and not be...
That's not official.
Crude.
No, I mean, yeah, like it shouldn't be evil. Like you shouldn't tattoo,
a pentagram.
Satan, or a pentagram or 666. You shouldn't, like that's not good. But for instance, we've got a guy coming to the church on Saturday, and he's going to be baptized. He's not a Christian, and he's got a tattoo of the Blessed Virgin on his arm.
Oh, cool.
And when I first met him, I was like, "Why do you have that?" He said, I liked it, and I thought it was cool. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, Our Lady is drawing you to her son in this, kind of weird way that, so yeah, it can be used in a way to.
And remember from our previous conversation, just because God uses something doesn't mean that thing is good in itself.
Yeah. It's not like, okay, yeah, that was
you can make a bad choice and God can bring you to it. So that anecdote doesn't justify a tattoo.
Sure. Right. There's no official stance by the church though, right?
There used to be that it was prohibited. Now there is no stance.
Yeah.
No stance.
So if I wanted to get a giant Our Lady of Guadalupe tattoo on my back, I would cry. I would cry like a baby.
Yeah, you would.
I could do that.
You could.
I won't.
I know.
So yeah, going back to the original reason for the prohibition, it was because a tattoo claimed you as somebody's property, right? It was either you became the property of a god, a deity, a false deity, or you became the property of the legion, a military unit, and Christians are free, right? Christians are free. So baptism is our tattoo. Baptism impresses upon the soul. A tattoo is only superficial. It can only be printed on the skin. So as Christians, we shouldn't invest in things that are merely printed on the skin, but we invest in spiritual, eternal truths that are imprinted on our soul. So baptism, confirmation, these are the tattoos of the legion of Holy Mother Church. Mm-hmm. If you get something on your skin, it doesn't necessarily change that, but it certainly doesn't even contribute to that either. I tend to think that a lot of times people get tattoos because they're trying desperately to get something on the inside that they want and are having trouble getting it by putting it on the outside.
That, or they're a sailor or a convict.
Yeah, sailors and convicts get prison tats and sailor tats. And for Christians, we don't need to worry about tattoos. If you get a tattoo, you get a tattoo. If you don't, you don't. But a tattoo's not going to do anything for you.
I feel like you guys...
Do you have any tattoos?
No, but I've thought about getting like the consecration chain tattooed, or like some people will tattoo their spouse's initials on their wedding ring finger so that if they're not wearing your wedding ring, you can see it. But I mean, I've like thought about it. But
I want to get this enormous...
I know this is a joke.
No, it's not. No, if I were ever going to get a tattoo, I think tattoos, I like tattoos personally.
Oh, really?
I do.
You did not give that impression.
No, because that's my love for tattoos is really kind of coming from an immature place. Like I can acknowledge that, but I tried to give a mature, rational answer on the front end.
Good job.
And then my here's the little school kid coming out here. I would love to get like a Roman cuirass shoulder plate on my right shoulder with Saint Michael on the outside with the wings span across the front and the back, and a spear going down my arm to stab the devil who is wrapped around
that is the most
bicep.
Father Michael thing I have
Isn't it
ever
great?
heard.
Think about that.
It
would be incredible. It would be amazing.
Shows up at Sturgis with Hell's Angels, and
that would be the baddest tattoo on on the block. It really would be. But like I have a great devotion to St. Michael. I don't need to get a tattoo of St. Michael to have that devotion. And I think it took me a long time, like growing up. I thought, okay, if I want the same exact tattoo in the same exact spot in 6 months, I'll get it. And I never did. And then I was like, yeah, but I still want this thing, this mark. And it was like I realized I have that relationship already internally. I don't need to put a mark to say, hey, this is my friend.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt, because I've also wanted to get one on my foot of the Sacred Heart, because like I'm like, oh, it's an outward sign of an inward devotion.
You want to
but
put a
also,
heart on your foot?
No, like it's something I drew a long time ago. Just like right there, because
Okay, that was not very rapid.
I know. We're gonna just move on.
Okay, enough about tattoos. What's the next question?
Would you rather be stuck in a confessional for 24 hours or have to listen to a toddler's never-ending story for 3?
So I actually like toddlers' never-ending stories because I give them new information and
You give them false information.
Yeah, I put ideas in their heads.
You do.
And I
Like
get them.
the earth is flat.
Yeah, or like I was talking to Stella on Sunday after Mass
Or
when it was
they're
pouring
adopted.
down rain, and I was saying, "Hey, Stella, you should go outside and stand underneath the gutter where that water is all gushing out." Then she told me why she doesn't like getting wet, and I said, "I don't either, but that's special water. It doesn't get you wet. It's magic water."
You've never heard a toddler like endlessly start a sentence, end it halfway through, and then restart it, and it's only a tiny bit different. And that's only for 10 minutes. So, personally, I'm team confessional.
But then, like a toddler, I'll say, "Yeah, but why?" Maybe it's because I have the maturity of a toddler.
That's true. Father Michael?
Oh, I'm a time guy, so I'll take 3 hours of anything over 24 hours of anything.
That's
but,
because you.
But let me say this though. I do like hearing confessions, so it's not because of the confession. It's just I don't want to sit in a box for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Next question. Would you rather have to incense everything you do, including cooking, driving, and brushing your teeth, or only be able to speak in Gregorian chant?
Both. Both and.
I think I know who asked this question.
So you're team Gregorian chant?
No, and I'm sorry to everybody. I just inflicted that on.
Did your husband ask this question?
My husband did not ask this
No,
question.
this was Sydney.
This
I'll
is
bet
Sydney.
you.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Sydney question.
I think Father Tim's team Gregorian chant.
I mean, I kind of incense everything already.
Look, just because you smell bad doesn't mean you incense.
Well, I make things angry. Incense people. Our canon lawyer in the seminary used to say, "We don't incense the altar at Mass because we're not making it angry. We sense it."
Okay. I'm a,
Fair point,
I would
nerd.
I would do the Gregorian chant.
Yeah,
It's just
I'm
easier.
too. Yeah,
you
it
just
is
long
easier.
talk rather than Otherwise, you got to walk around with the thing and with the smoke and with the fire.
What if
and-
you Gregorian chant the rest of this episode?
Oh my gosh!
Since you like to, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
What?
All of Mass. You always chant the 10:30
Just
Mass.
the
I'm
highest.
like, come
No,
on.
the high masses. I don't.
Come
He chants the
on.
Our Father every single Sunday. I don't.
At the
We
10:30
sing
Mass.
that Our Father. We don't really chant it. It's really slurred. Okay, anyway, last question. What are your family's Easter traditions?
Do families have Easter traditions?
Do your families
family.
not?
I mean, I guess
Mine does.
we would take pictures after Mass in front of the flowers in our yard and then do an Easter egg hunt.
That would be a tradition.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Father Michael?
So after I'm done with all of the Easter masses at whatever parish I'm at, I go to my brother's house and we all meet over there and we have Easter lunch or Easter dinner, depending on how late I get over there. And then we all have a fun game evening and then we all go to bed. We wake up in the morning, we have big breakfast, and then I usually have to go back to the parish.
That's cute.
What we do now is my family comes. We started this last year. My family will come here for 10:30 Mass. I'll reserve them a seat, like a whole row, not in the front, not in the back, but in the middle. My mom and whoever else she wants to bring gets a reserved row. Kind of like how Jesus preserved his mom from the stain of original sin. You know, I don't have the power to do that, but I have the power to give my mother
Oh
a
my
row
gosh, you're
and to tell
ridiculous.
other people you don't get to reserve a row. It's just one of those little perks.
It's like fireworks on the 4th of July, right?
Yeah, it's good to be king.
Y'all can't bring fireworks, but I can be up in my property shooting off fireworks all I
Well,
want.
to be fair, that was my niece's.
Nicole, what are your plans? Traditions.
Traditions. My family always my mom and dad would hide the Easter baskets. We'd have to find them. And then we'd go to Mass. And then, we always go to sunrise Mass as a family. We were there 7 a.m. on the dot. We'd hide the Easter baskets, do breakfast, and then do like a late lunch, and sometimes an Easter egg hunt. It's been a while since we've had any people young enough to do an Easter egg hunt in my family. So
Don't you have 2 small children?
now I do, but when I was living at home with my large family. Okay, let's talk about the one thing, Father Tim.
Okay, that was terrible. Can we do that again?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Why? What's wrong with that?
It's fine.
I've sung it before. Okay, Father Michael, what's your one thing?
I think today, I think every man should carry a few things with them all the time. They should always have a belt on. They should have a watch and their wallet and keys with them, regardless, because you never know if you're going to have to pay for something or you need to get in somewhere.
I didn't ask for your one piece of advice.
But my one thing is something else that I think every man should always have on them about their person is a pocket knife. And so my one thing for today is my Kershaw Blur pocket knife that I am never without. It's a fantastic blade that just opened up, as you heard. Anyways, no, it's just good. It's got good tactile feel there. It's got a good solid lock. It's got a great blade. I like the shape of the Kershaw blades. You can get these in multiple sizes. I used to carry around one that was only like 2 inches long, closed up, and then this one's a little bit. This one's a little bit
What is
bigger.
that, like the size of your palm?
Yeah, and if you are not a guy listening to this, and you have a guy in your life that you think needs to be a guy, then go ahead and buy him as a gift this Kershaw Blur. I would highly recommend it.
Kershaw Blur. All right, I'll link it.
Does Adrian have a knife?
He has so many knives.
Does he carry one on him?
Every day. He probably
Good
carries 2.
man.
He loves his Leatherman.
Oh well, that's a good practical. That's
And-
a very nerdy, smart guy.
Does he wear it on his
knife.
belt?
No, he wears it in his pocket.
Okay, even better.
And
okay,
it
he's
makes
redeemed
holes
himself.
in his jeans. So my favorite thing. Father Tim, what is your one thing?
You know what? My one thing is like homeschool mom sourdough bread.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
There's various homeschool moms
Yeah.
in the church that make sourdough bread. Some just make it plain. Some make it with like jalapeno and bacon.
So you like homeschool mom sourdough bread?
Yeah, but only from the people that
Why
I
don't
already
you
get it
make
from.
your own sourdough?
Why would I do that when I have people that do
Also,
it
how
for me?
am I supposed to link homeschool mom sourdough bread?
I don't know. I'm sure it's on Etsy.
We could link. We could link her website.
Does she have a website?
I'm
Ooh.
sure it's on the box. We'll
Somebody
figure
has
it
a
out.
website. What is their name?
She has a. What do you call it? Cottage industry.
Yeah, cottage industry.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll send that to me, and I'll link it.
Do you make sourdough?
No, I don't. I
She's
don't
not
have the
homeschooling.
patience. I don't have the desire to feed a piece of dough when I barely want to feed myself or my children. So
You don't want to
no.
you want to starve your children? Is that
When
what
they
you just
okay,
said?
my kids are like in this phase of I don't want to eat anything unless I've never had it before, and I am burnt out on recipes. So,
Just they've never
So
had
just-
it before, unless
You know
they've
what?
had it before.
Tell them that it's something that it's not.
speaking of this, my one thing for this week is using Chat GPT to meal plan because it works super well.
Oh.
I know.
Oh,
I
the one who says there's no
know.
use for AI.
No, I didn't say no use. I think it's irresponsible to use it for like communication
Meal
or
planning?
therapy. But meal planning when it's like is across where you're like, okay, every week we have to come up with a grocery list and a meal plan. It did a great job.
You should use Grok though. It's much better. Grok
No.
3.
I'm gonna use ChatGPT. Okay, that's my one thing. I'll link. I
Wow.
guess
The one who
I feel a little bit like a hypocrite, but
you
I
are
also,
a hypocrite. That's
I'm
fine.
not. I don't think that's an irresponsible use. It makes me more virtuous.
No,
Here,
more
Chat GPT, will you help me carry my cross?
yeah, more virtuous would be, wow, I'm going to love my family and I'm going to do research and I'm going to look in
I've done that for
Southern,
5 years.
I'm going to look in Southern Living and I'm going to make
Oh,
sure that when my husband gets home from work, I've got my
Magnolia,
dress on and my new
Magnolia,
makeup
whatever.
and my earrings.
My husband works in the basement.
I'm going
There's
to be
no coming
I'm going to be
home.
June Cleaver.
Your husband's a basement troll.
All right, we'll link that. All right, guys, listen. We are wrapping up our season. It's our last episode, our season finale.
It's
is
so sad.
next
I'm worried
week.
you guys are all going to abandon us now that we're not
Father
doing
Michael
one every
is
week.
so upset.
Are you going to come back? Are you guys going to come back and listen to us next season? Next season when we do this? I'm afraid you've all been like, okay, thanks guys. We appreciate the the laughs, and then you never come back.
They'll
No,
so
I think
sad.
they'll be longing for it. It's like
hopefully maybe
waiting
we'll build
Absence
that to
makes the
more
heart
people.
grow fonder.
waiting for that next season. Of,
What's happening is that I, Nicole, the producer, writer, and editor of this show, am going out of town for 2 months. So we have to end the season anyway.
You're going out of town for 2 months? That must be nice.
Essentially traveling the country to shoot weddings for 2 months.
You're going to get
You
arrested.
shouldn't shoot
Yeah,
up weddings.
yeah, you're gonna get
That's
arrested.
Really bad.
You guys are
In
ridiculous.
fact, I hope the FBI is not listening to this.
So I won't be in town to record, and we will. So we're just taking a little break for the summer, which is great for you guys. You can go travel,
It's not great for them.
take your summer
It's
vacations,
not
whatever,
great. They're going to be sad.
and then
They're
you
not
go
going to have.
re-listen to
They're
all
going to have
of
to
these.
listen to inferior.
They're going to have
content.
to go binge 10 questions with Father Tim. That's what they're going to have to do. So we'll be back, hopefully, for season 2 in July. But we want you to watch the season finale because we're gonna film it. It's gonna be really fun, and I'm gonna cry
Oh, it's going to be
eating
fun.
these silly little spicy wings. So we're gonna do kind of a remake of our last year's season finale. I think we've already talked about this, but yeah, tune in. You guys, I went and rewatched the finale yesterday to like prepare for this, and it was just so good.
No, you're gonna have to do the hosting again while you're eating the wings, though.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to ask the questions with clarity
Oh gosh,
and articulation.
that's really hard.
And you're not allowed to cry.
I'm gonna cry.
You're gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry a lot.
Yeah, I'm reading through the hot sauces right now, and I'm not going to tell you what they are until we
Give
do
us
this.
a little preview.
Man, they're-
Now,
Which one?
I'd like to give you this bit of information in this way. We start with a hot sauce that's at,
1,700 Scoville heat units,
and we end with a hot sauce that ends with.
2,693,000 Scoville heat units.
This is the journey we're taking with you, Nicole.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
What does it say? Something about
I turn so red when I'm eating something spicy, but you do too.
Oh,
and so did
I'll
you,
start
Father
sweating
Tim.
at the first sauce. I mean, that's not a mystery to anybody who knows me. But I will continue to enjoy the sauces up until probably number 7.
Y'all tune in. We'll have video. So if you typically listen to this in the car, you might want to save it for when you're not driving.
or get one of those mods
You
for your
will
car
want
that,
you will want
that
to
puts
watch
your
this,
screen.
though. It's going to be horrible.
Don't they make mods that put your phone screen on the screen in your car so you can watch stuff?
Don't do that. But
Yeah,
this is
don't
going to
do
be
that.
like watching a car wreck.
If Father Tim or Father Michael has ever given you a particularly gruesome penance in confession, this is kind of like your revenge moment. Where they
One
do
decade
it.
of the Holy Rosary does not count.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest
You guys
penance.
actually
I
did
only
pretty
give Our
nice.
Fathers or 3 Hail Marys. It's just about it.
Okay, but tune in.
And
Thanks for listening.
don't forget, guys, even though we're abandoning you into the darkness of several months without the Truth Unplugged, make sure to follow and subscribe and to share the Truth Unplugged with your friends. That way, when we come back from this
This is break.
Sojourn
It's
through the
just
valley of tears.
horrible absence and darkness, when we come back and re-illumine your lives, you will know right away, and you'll be able to jump right back on the bandwagon.
If you
And
guys
from
have,
the evil of our absence, good will be brought about.
oh yeah,
That's right. That's some.
if you guys have any watch parties, tag us, take a picture and tag us, and we'll share it because
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that would be really funny. All right, thanks guys. We appreciate you listening.
We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
turkey.
What turkey?
That's how you
That's
sound
what
like.
you
You sound
sound
like a turkey. Yeah, that's a sheep.